India is the world's largest two-wheeler market, and it's pretty uncommon to see foreign brands enter India and try to create a mark here. One such brand is Moto Morini from Italy. Now, Moto Morini has partnered with Adishwar Autoride India Group for its India operation and has entered India with 4 650cc motorcycles, 3 of which we have with us today. These two are Seiemmezzo 650 siblings, and this is the X-Cape 650 adventure motorcycles. Now in this video, I'll give you my first impressions of each of these bikes, as I have very short duration with each of these bikes. But fret not, the detailed road test review of all of these bikes will be up on BikeWale soon. I'm Anuj, welcome to BikeWale, let's get going. The motorcycle I hopped on first was the X-Cape 650X Adventure Tourer. And that's because the design of the bike attracted me substantially. The X-Cape looks tall, rugged and ready to take it all. The split type LED headlamp makes its front end look ferocious, while the tall windscreen, knuckle guards and a huge sump guard speak of its adventure intentions. Moreover, the overall bodywork is sharp and angular, making it look all the more visually appealing. The X-Cape is equally impressive after getting astride the motorcycle, courtesy of the enormous 7-inch full-color TFT, which starts with a fancy animation and shows a plethora of information in a clearly legible format. It also changes the display theme according to the selected riding mode, which, by the way, it has 2 of them, including ride and off-road. Other useful features are an adjustable windscreen, dual USB charging ports and a sizable 18-liter fuel tank. In our quick session with the bike, we felt even the overall quality was good, if not commendable. The switches operate with a nice click and the quality of the plastic isn't bad either. It's the same story with its body panels. Also, the components are put together quite nicely and there was no panel or metal noise to be heard while riding. Now let's talk about the ergonomics of the motorcycle. Now the seat height that it offers, for me it's not that difficult to get on board the motorcycle because I am at 5 feet 11 inches. Shorter riders might find it a little difficult to get on board. And when you are seated, the ergonomics are quite comfortable. The seat is spacious and the handlebar is within your easy reach, but it is set a little forward and tall. And you can't really grip the fuel tank properly because there are bulges here. But when you stand on the pegs, it feels way more natural because the midsection of the motorcycle is pretty slim, so you can hold the midsection properly. And for me, even being tall, I'm not finding it difficult to reach the handlebar. I'm not having to bend down any bit, so it's good while you're standing. Now let's listen to the exhaust note of this 650cc twin cylinder engine. On to the hardware specifications now. One of the highlights of the X-Cape is its adjustable suspension setup. While the front upside down forks can be adjusted for preload, rebound and compression, the rear monoshock can be tweaked for preload and rebound. The shock absorbers ride a pair of 19 and 17-inch spoke wheels in the X variant which we rode. It also comes in a road bias trim which gets alloy wheels of the same size. Meanwhile, braking is taken care of by a pair of 298mm discs up front and a single 255mm rotor at the rear. This is assisted by a dual channel ABS setup. Talking about the engine, propelling the X-Cape is a 649cc parallel twin liquid cooled engine that pumps out about 60 bhp and 54 Nm and comes mated to a 6-speed gearbox. I rode the X-Cape only off-road, where it was extremely impressive. It's a well-balanced motorcycle with a low center of gravity, the ergonomics feel natural, and the bottom end grunt is in abundance. Hence, despite being a beginner at off-road riding, I felt confident while riding it through slushy and serpentine trails. I also took the bike on a rocky section where the suspension setup held on with composure. Adding to the confidence-inspiring ride off-road are Pirelli's block pattern tires, which deliver acceptable grip. While I didn't take it on the road, my teammate Ajinkya did, and he felt the handling is reasonably agile, but quick turn-ins require some muscling. He also felt the motorcycle was vibey at higher speeds, close to 80 to 90 kmph of speeds. The closest rivals to the Moto Morini X-Cape 650 Standard and Extremes are the long-running Kawasaki Versys 650 and the Suzuki V-Strom 650 XT. Also, the Honda CB500X comes close to it in terms of body style, purpose and displacement. After a bit of trail riding on the X-Cape, it was time to hop on the Seiemmezzo 6.5 Retro Street and hit the tarmac. This is a neo-retro roadster with a round headlamp, a chiseled fuel tank with a curvy design and a stubby tail section. Visually, for me, this motorcycle looks way too traditional to be appealing and desirable. However, the Scrambler iteration of the Seiemmezzo lineup isn't as vanilla. While they both share the same platform and a majority of design, the Scrambler excites a little more with its golden front forks, tiny fly screen, raised front fender, tan seat and block pattern tires with wire spoke wheels. Both bikes share the same list of features, which includes a 5-inch color TFT screen with Bluetooth connectivity, full LED lighting system and a 15-liter fuel tank. Even the fit and finish and build quality is nearly identical. Both Seiemmezzos boast good quality plastic panels and switchgear, while the fitment of the components and paint quality are decent. However, when revved hard, the rear section of the Retro Street makes the sound of loose metal panels rubbing against each other. With that out of the way, let's take a look at the ergonomics, starting with the Retro Street. One aspect about this model as well as the Scrambler version is that these bikes look pretty compact for a middleweight offering, so it won't be intimidating for new riders. As for the ergonomics, the seat height is pretty accessible, so getting on board is not an issue, and getting both your feet firmly on the ground is not a task either. Now, when you are seated, you notice that you are sitting in a commanding riding position. You have a wide handlebar at your disposal, and as you can see, my arms are pretty outstretched and the foot pegs are slightly rear set, not much. So it's a good combination of comfort as well as commitment, but the commitment part is not that much. So while riding on the road, this feels pretty commanding. I really like how this motorcycle sounds. There is a bit of bassy character as well as roughness to its exhaust sound. Let's listen to it. The Retro Street rides on an 18 and 17-inch alloy wheel combination that is shod with Pirelli Angel GT tires. The suspension setup comprises 43 mm upside down forks at the front and a monoshock at the rear, and both of them get preload adjustability. Anchors are dropped by dual 298 mm discs and a single 255 mm rotor at the front and rear respectively. The engine of the Retro Street is the same 649cc parallel twin unit which does duty on the X-Cape. However, the tuning is slightly different and so is the power output at around 55 bhp. The torque output, meanwhile, is the same at 54 Nm. Transmission duties are handled by a 6-speed gearbox. Out on the road, the Retro Street delivered punchy acceleration, especially in the mid-range. While it's potent in the higher rev range as well, the experience is moderately hampered by the vibrations creeping in. Nevertheless, the engine likes to be revved hard. While the gear shifts were smooth, the clutch was noticeably heavy, which could be a problem in city riding conditions. The ride quality felt forgiving at low speeds, but as the speeds rose, the suspension setup started showing its reluctance. The front in particular bottoms out too quickly with a slapping sound, and every time I braked, there was a great bite from the front calipers and the lever too returned decent feedback. The rear could do with better stopping power. While we couldn't test its corner carving capabilities, flicking the motorcycle from side to side wasn't effortless, but it wasn't an outright lazy affair either. Now that was about the Retro Street. Let's shed light on our first impressions of the Scrambler version. Now, similar to its road-focused version, the seat height and ergonomics of the Scrambler 2 are pretty accessible. So it's easy to get on the bike, and planting both your feet on the ground is easily doable. Even it should be for shorter riders as well. And when you are properly seated, the ergonomics are quite natural, neutral and relaxed, similar to its road-biased version. But the main difference is that the handlebar is much wider and it is angled towards you. So you are sitting in a more relaxed position. And when you want to stand and ride, the handlebar is easier to reach as compared to its road-biased version. And even the midsection of the bike is not very slim, but you can easily grip it with your legs. Now let's listen to the exhaust note of the Scrambler, which is very similar to its street-focused version. Let's listen to it. Most of the specifications of the Scrambler are identical to the Retro Street. The engine, suspension setup, brakes, wheel sizes and chassis are all the same. In fact, despite looking more adventure-centric, the suspension travel and ground clearance of the Scrambler are the same as its street-biased counterpart. The only mechanical difference is that the former incorporates block pattern tires. Similarly, in terms of riding experience, the braking, suspension damping and engine performance of the Scrambler felt the same as the Retro Street. What made a difference though was the ergonomics. My time on the Scrambler was limited to off-road, and thanks to the wider pulled back handlebar, standing up and riding the bike felt more natural, while the block pattern tires imbibed confidence in me to take on the slushy sections. I also jumped the Scrambler on a few instances. While the front end slapping noise was to be heard here as well, it wasn't as intense as on the Retro Street. Talking about the competition of the Moto Morini Seiemmezzo 6.5 siblings, the Retro Street and the Scrambler will go up against the Kawasaki Z650, Triumph Trident 660 and the Honda CV650R. And we are done riding all three Moto Morini 650cc motorcycles, and my personal favorite has been the X-Cape 650cc ADV, which was very good off-road. Even the Seiemmezzo siblings were good, but obviously on all three bikes there are some things which can be improved. Now obviously the detailed verdict of these bikes or the detailed review of these bikes I can only tell you after I ride them comprehensively out in the real world. Also, while shooting this video, the prices of the motorcycles have not been announced, which will play a key role in deciding whether these bikes will survive in front of their rivals. Now, the detailed road test review will be up on BikeWale soon. Till then, stay tuned to us and do not forget to subscribe to our channel.